Hey guys, in this video, we're gonna teach you some tips and tricks when you're building your own DIY swimming pool kit. Stay tuned, we've got a lot of great content for you that hopefully will answer a lot of questions and make your construction process a breeze. All right, John has gone ahead and measured out where he wants his lights. Now the lights aren't punched. You're gonna cut those in on site, especially if you're using those smaller, more modern 320s, and I definitely recommend that. It's a much better looking light. Used to be everybody bought those lights that are about the size of a volleyball. They don't really use those much anymore. You can still buy them, but if you're doing new construction, you want to go with those pendant style lights. And so you're going to want to measure at least 12 to 15 inches down the panel. Now we're going to show you how we cut that in. You'll need a hole saw, but you can use a punch as well. But let's go ahead and get that first hole started. All right, it looks good. Now that we've got this hole cut, and we cut this with a hole saw, and we did just a small opening. Now we're gonna use a punch to finish it out. If you don't have a punch, you can use a 3 1/8 inch hole saw to actually make that opening. If you're using a hole saw, just make sure you get galvanization spray. That way you can re-galvanize that hole you just cut. We're actually gonna use a punch to finish this out, and we'll show you what that looks like. If you don't have a punch, they're easy to rent. I like using those a little bit more than just your standard hole saw. It leaves a cleaner cut, and you really don't have to do any type of galvanization afterwards because you're just punching straight through. So let's grab that hole saw. While he gets set, that opening is gonna be 3 1/8 inch ultimately for your light to slip in. We're going with 320 lights. Highly recommend the smaller pendant style lights as opposed to those old school volleyball size lights. No one really uses those anymore. If you're building a new pool, definitely recommend using those smaller 320s. And I love that you get to place the lights wherever you want in your own pool. You can put 2 or 3 in a row, you can space them out, you can do whatever you want with the lights, and I do appreciate that. Now, if you get the full-size light, they're gonna go ahead and punch that in the factory. But with these, you get to place them wherever you want. Just make sure, don't forget, go down 12 to 15 inches from the top of that panel. And John, do you have it really secured on there now?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
All right, let's see what happens. It really is that easy to use. We've got a perfect hole now for this fitting. I'll show you what that looks like. That'll slip right in. And we'll be able to screw on the back. And we'll get to this in a little bit, but your pendant light's gonna go right inside that return fitting. I love using a punch. You can rent one easily. If you don't have one, just remember a hole saw will work. All right, guys, I'm gonna show you real quick how to build up a housing for your 320 light. Now, I've got a 320 light here. This is by Hayward. It has a little beauty cap that goes on the front, but we're gonna take it off for the purpose of this video. This light is gonna live inside the housing we're about to build up. So you can get an idea of how that light would stick out of the housing. Now, to make your housing, you need PVC piping. We're gonna cut these in 12-inch pieces. We have 3 lights, so we've got 3 pieces cut. Next, you're going to need an adapter. This adapter goes on the end. This is 1.5 inches, and this is gonna screw right into our return fitting. Now, on the opposite side, you need a coupling. This is 1.5 inch coupling, followed by a reducer, 1.5 inch reducer, and it'll allow for 1 inch or smaller conduit to travel outside. Now, ultimately, we're gonna come back and we're gonna use pipe glue and we're gonna glue this all together, but I wanted you to see how this looks. Don't forget Teflon tape. You're gonna wanna tape up your threads, but that's just gonna screw right in here, and your light is gonna be fed through from the front and slip right back into this housing. Water will get inside of here, so use your pipe glue. Use that Teflon tape whenever you have the opportunity. Make sure you don't forget to do that. We don't want a place for anything to leak. So take time, glue everything up, tape everything up, but it's really easy to use a 320 light by Hayward. Now we're getting ready to put our return faceplates on, and this is for our light. Now, I love the nicheless style lights. These small pendant style lights are way better, way easier to put in than those full-size lights. You don't have to get in the water. You don't have to hang over the edge in some awkward way. You can literally lay on the concrete, even if it's cold, and put your light in. Now, if you don't have a light and you're just doing a standard return, it's installed the same way. Now that return, if you remember, it has a gasket already on the front. So when we did our Aqua Genie skimmer, we had to put a gasket down before the liner, then we put a gasket after the liner. This already has a gasket on, you don't need one on top. And what I love about these returns is there's a little notch here that corresponds to a notch on the faceplate that's already mounted in the wall. Once you line that up, you know you're ready to start putting in screws. So we're gonna go ahead and orient this and get it lined up, and I think that's it right there. And I'll pop a screw through. See if I can't get that lined up perfectly. And our last one. And then we'll snug this down all the way and cut out that extra material. Now don't drop your knife into the pool. That wouldn't be a great idea.
If you're inspired by this video, head over to poolwarehouse.com to get your free pool quote today.
And don't pull on that material, it will come loose right away. All right. Now, if we weren't putting in a light, we would be done with our return at this point. You would just want to screw your eyeball fitting right on the inside, and that would be it. But we're gonna go ahead and run our light through, and I'll show you how you do that with a pendant light. Again, by far the easiest light install there is. Definitely consider this style. Now we're ready to go ahead and start running our pendant lights back through our conduit. And if you remember, we built up a housing for our pendant light, but now we've got to get this wire back through, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We're simply going to take some string and fish that through. Now our junction box is here, and I'm going to set all this aside, and we're going to go right to our conduit. Now, our string is pretty lightweight, but I've tied a piece of plastic to it. You really don't need anything more robust than that piece of plastic, and we're gonna stuff it right down in our conduit. And then we're gonna suck that all the way back through to the other end. And go ahead and get some string pulled out so we have plenty to get through to the other end. And we'll jump to that side, and I'll show you how we get that out. All right. Now you may want to check a couple times, make sure you don't suck that thread all the way up or your cordage, but it's actually pretty easy to get to come through. If you've got a couple 90s, just make sure you take time, has to get past those 90s, but it should come right through. And then pull a little extra out, because remember, we're going to tie this to the end of our wire and run it right back through our conduit. All right, now I've got this all taped up. And what you want to do is take your end where your cord comes through and tape that to the end of your light wire. And I've got this all secured up with some electrical tape. It's not overly complicated. Just fold your wires over and make sure you get that really well secured. I also like straightening out all this wire as well. It makes it easier when it's running back through that conduit. So John, if you want to actually take this whole bundle and walk around the pool with it, and let's try to straighten that out a little bit. Went ahead and unwound that entire cord, dropped it in the pool. It's just a lot easier once it's unwound. When you get it out of the box, it's really coiled pretty tightly. Now John's gonna fish this back through. And John, just take your time, you don't have to go fast. If you hit any 90s, just slow down and we can work it back and forth until it passes that 90. All right, now you may need to help feed it through. Remember, it starts to neck down again into that housing we built, so make sure you're helping to feed that through. If you hit any 90s or any areas where it gets stuck, I'll pull back on my end just a little bit, and John can pull on his until we get it to pass that area where it's wedged, but it looks like we're going in pretty easily now. All right, pull it back just an inch. All right, now I'll pull mine back just a little bit. All right, now pull yours again. There you go. All right, we should be getting close. All right, now John's got the other end out, and we're gonna keep pulling. That way we get this light all the way through. All right, that looks good. Now, remember this light is 100% waterproof, super bright light. Love this style, but you can drop it in the pool, it doesn't matter. And that's another reason that I love it. It's a wet niche. You can change this light below the water line if you need to. So I definitely love that, but we're gonna set this on the deck and we'll show you how to get this light inside of that return housing now. Now, really quickly, I'll talk about this tool that Hayward sends with your light. I love it. This first set just holds on to the light itself. It keeps the light from spinning in the housing. Once you slip it in this fitting, the fitting is what spins. These little legs will stick into the outer ring and you twist, and it's just a compression washer. So it's just compressing that washer, causing it to open up and expand, but you don't want the light to turn as well. So you'll hold this firmly and you'll twist here. And it's pretty easy to stick on. The light is notched for these three. So I'll stick that on the notches in the light. And then it has notches for these other pins that are on the twisty part. And we'll stick those in, and then you simply twist. It's really just that easy. All right, and it's just snug fit. We're in there though, and it all looks pretty good. Hey, my DIY friends, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope there's a couple takeaways that you can use when you're building your own pool. And remember, you can watch, learn, and build your own swimming pool kit with poolwarehouse.com. We'll see you on the next video.